Hear me? Oh, you can hear me. I'm right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This is our second ever creative conference, which is so exciting. I don't know if you guys were here last year. It was an incredible year, but boy, do we have a great weekend for you. We have so many speakers for you and artists. I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. It's going to be an awesome night. Just to kick off, quickly, you guys probably noticed there was no QR code outside, so we're just going to quickly pop a slide on the screens now. Question mark? A QR code. If you can whip out your phones, because I know you all have one, and just quickly sign in, that would be fantastic. Look, COVID's still kind of around, and also just for housekeeping, if you can try and stay 1.5 meters away, that would be fantastic. So we'll just keep that up on the screen. And just before we dive in, this morning, I was kind of reflecting on just creativity in general and how it fits into my journey with God and why I'm here and how I got to be here, how I got to, I guess, call myself a creative, because we all are creatives. And I was just reflecting on this prayer that my parents used to pray over me and my sisters. And we all do something, we're all, musicians or artists or whatever, we all are kind of part of this creative industry, we're all on kind of creative platforms. And he used to pray this prayer over me, and it's not massive, but to me it just sticks with me, and he used to pray over us that we would have the creativity that Adam had when he was naming the animals in the Garden of Eden. And it's really interesting because I guess what we're doing here is, we don't necessarily name things, but as artists, we do put words and art and drawings to the emotions that we're experiencing. And God, Adam in the Garden of Eden, he named the animals based off what he experienced with them. And that's what we're doing, I guess, as artists, is when we sing and we write songs and we draw paintings and we dance and we, use fashion, we're just putting all of these cool creative platforms and forums to the emotions that we're experiencing and to the experience that we're experiencing in the world. So my prayer for this conference is that you guys will take that and really delve into the creativity that God has put in place for you. And that you guys are inspired, that you take incredible wisdom away from this conference. And as you go back to your workplaces and your schools and your families and your churches, that you'll just be inspired to use this creativity that God has put into you and put in your heart. So let's start. We're going to actually do a quick icebreaker. Don't worry, no one has to come up on stage because we want the whole audience to be involved. So what we're going to do is we just want you to turn to the people next to you and get to know them a little bit and just get comfortable with the people who are on your table during this conference. Because honestly, when you're comfortable and you're relaxed, you take in more, and we want you guys to get as much out of this conference as possible. So for the next few minutes, we just want you to turn to the people next to you, whether you've known them and came with them or you don't know them at all. Just quickly ask them how their weeks have been. Quick icebreaker question. Ask them what got them here tonight, why they're here, and then to go along with our conference's theme, Colour Your World, we want you to also ask them what brings colour into their life, to be cheesy, or what are they passionate about, what are they inspired by, and what creative platforms they're interested in. So we'll just give you a few minutes to get to know the people on your table, and then we'll be back up here.
Well, folks, good evening, and it's my job to welcome you all here, but I think Jess has done most of that, and we're running a little bit late, so I'm just going to move it on pretty quick. Welcome to the Creative Conference in conjunction with Greenhouse. We normally have Greenhouse here on a Friday night, third Friday night of every month, with our young folk. It's our Friday evening program, and it's just been awesome that Charmaine has been able to combine with us to run this program. So, here's the slide for Colour Our. Okay, so Colour Our World. So it's is our theme for this evening, or for the actual whole conference. And it's just awesome that we can be here. So I'll just move it on straight away and I'll just pray with you. So if you can just bow your heads, that'd be great. Lord Heavenly Father, we thank you for your wonderful blessings, and it's just awesome that we can be here with like-minded folk, and it's just awesome that we have these people that you've given us great and awesome spiritual gifts to that can share with us this evening. Fill us with your Spirit, and we pray these things in your wonderful name. Amen.
Awesome. So we're going to quickly kick off the night. So our first speaker we have for you, his name is Regent. Regent is a creator at heart. According to him, there is something magical when you create using your own two hands, a sense of wonder and joy. As a young immigrant traveling from one country to another, Regent has experienced numerous cultures and the creativity that comes along with it, capturing each moment dating back to developing films from his father's camera as a child. After being mesmerized by the art of visual storytelling during high school, Regent was convinced that this is his path. Following that dream, he completed his bachelor's degree in film and screen media production, specializing in cinematography and sound. Regent keeps himself busy as a digital media producer at Sophos Nutrition, creating all sorts of video and audio content that helps everyday people achieve their health goals. When Regent is not in front of his screen with his headphones on, you'll find him running around on a soccer field, finding inspiration on YouTube, building something, or studying the Bible with his friends. At this creative conference, Regent will share about his latest short film project, The Midnight Sower, and the ways Christians can use film to share the gospel. Welcome, Regent.
Thank you, Jess. I did not think that was going to be read out, so that was a bit awkward. I'm just going to put this on the side. Hey guys, how are you all doing? Good? Good to see a lot of the Greenhouse crew here. Good to see you guys. Yeah, so like Jess said, my name is Regent, and today I'm going to speak to you about film, or some people call it movie, cinema, Netflix. Yeah, there's heaps of subscription programs like Netflix Prime. Australian version, there's like Stan, Binge. And there's a Christian one. Do you guys know there's a Christian subscription service? Yeah? Well, Chosen, it's not a subscription service, it's a great TV show. But there's a thing called PureFlix, which is like, yeah, it's like a streaming service for Christians. And you can't get it in Australia, which is really bad for us. But you can get it's in the United States, and if you have a VPN, you can kind of access it. I haven't done that, though. But yeah, today I'm going to talk to you about filmmaking and discipleship. These are some screen grabs from our short film that we did. You guys are probably the first ones to see these because they have never been out. So yeah, sneak peek. Yeah, so I'm just going to, first of all, I just want to thank Charmaine and the South Queensland Conference for giving me this opportunity to share about filmmaking and what it means to me and how we can be disciples of Jesus through that. So I'm just going to start with what, I have only a limited time, so Charmaine, if I'm going over time, just cut me off and I'll just get off. So there's going to be heaps of things to pack in, so I'm going to speak really quick, and yeah, hopefully you can catch on. All right, so let's go. So why filmmaking, right? You've probably heard this before. A picture is worth 1,000 words, or a picture says 1,000 words, right? And in a film, in 1 second, there's like 24 frames. So basically, there's 24 frames, 24 pictures in a second of a video. So that's like 24,000 right there, just in a second, right? So that's why video is so powerful to tell a story or to convey something. And it's just, that's why I fell in love with video and filmmaking. So I'm just going to share a bit about myself. That's me there. Yeah, probably before COVID. But yeah, so in grade 10, I was really into tech and IT. So I was like, you know, when I finish high school, I'm going to study tech, IT, and go computer and that. But then in grade 11 and grade 12, I really got into movies, taking photos, taking videos, and everything like that. So when it came time to decide what to study at the end of high school, I decided I'm going to study film. So I studied the Bachelor of Film and Screen Media Production at Griffith Film School up at South Bank. And most of you probably know that arts and like very niche arts kind of thing is very liberal arts is it's not your typical degree or your typical course, right? And it's really associated with a lot of I don't want to use this word, but like kind of odd and odd and like kind of what do you call kind of people. So you won't find much Christians in there. And that's the same for me when I studied for 3 years full time, and during that time I think there were like 5 Christians that I knew of in our cohort of like 140. So, and that's why the film that we made is us Christians coming together. So here's us, here's Daniel. Daniel is, all of us are Christians. Daniel is the writer and director, I'm the cinematographer, and Caleb is our editor. And it's pretty diverse actually in the sphere of Christianity. Daniel is a Catholic, I'm an Adventist, and Caleb is a Baptist. So it covers pretty good ground there. And after graduating film school, I think every film student's goal is to finish film school, get into film, and eventually get into Hollywood, right? That's the goal, right? Get into Hollywood, get big. And that was my dream too when I started. But then going through film school, 3 years doing full time, I felt like that lifestyle wasn't for me because film is not your like 9-to-5 job where Monday to Friday. It's kind of a contract base. So if you're shooting a film or like assisting in a film, you'll probably work like hectically for like 3 months, and then you have a break for like 6 months, and then the next project comes along. And as a Christian and as an Adventist, especially like with the Sabbath and everything, you can't really work like 7 days a week, like long hours. So that lifestyle, after uni, I didn't want to really pursue the lifestyle. So I went on to like corporate videos, and that's why now I'm working at a digital health company. It's a small startup, and just read that I'm a digital producer, which is like a fancy term for just a videographer for the company. It sounds good, but the real term is that. So tonight, I'm just going to quickly go over the film that I'm going to discuss is called The Midnight Sower, and that's kind of the work in progress poster, but I don't think it's going to be the final poster because it looks like an animation more than a short film. So this is, you guys are getting a sneak peek of some of the frames, which is really cool. So The Midnight Sower is we don't want to call it a Christian film. The director calls it a contemplative film, contemplative short film, because, anyways, I don't want to spoil too much about it because, so the shortest way to briefly say the plot is a young girl, she's in high school age, and one night heaps of bad things happen to her, and she starts questioning everything about herself, her beliefs, and everything like that. So that's the short way of saying that. So when we decided, Dallin and I would, after uni, he went on a mission trip for like 6 months to a year, I think. He went on a mission trip, and I just went hunting for jobs in the corporate environment. And we used to catch up and meet up. And then earlier this year, he was like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. Let's give making a film a shot, because we're Christians. If we're the head, like he's the director, I'm the cinematographer, and we got a Christian editor as well, we can create the environment that we want, and we can create a set that is that is Christian, or like, shows our values. So he wrote a script, and he sent me the script, and I was like, I really like the script. I was like, okay, cool, let's get it on. So we started from the start of this year, started meeting up, doing storyboards, like pre-production and everything, and then once we were ready for it to go, we're like, we need some funding, right? We need some money. Because it's expensive to make films. We need some money, so we're like, we'll do a Kickstarter. Cool, we'll do a Kickstarter. And then we decided, let's do a Kickstarter. And then to make the Kickstarter successful, we decided, let's audition the actors first, book in the actors, and then once we have the actors, we'll put them in the Kickstarter so that when people read the Kickstarter and look at the Kickstarter, they'll be like, this is legit. They already got the cast, they got the crew, and everything. So we did the auditions, and it just gave me PTSD of auditioning because it's such an awkward thing. People coming to you and just pouring their heart out, and then when they leave, you're judging them. So it's such a weird... I used to do that in film school, and I haven't done that for like 2 years, so it was just such an awkward experience. But we did that. We kicked off the Kickstarter, and initially we decided we need $15,000. And Daniel, our director, he's been working in like the film industry, but like as an assistant for like the art department, so carrying like couches and all the decoration stuff. So it's not a pretty job, right? But he's been saving up, so we initially started with $15,000, and we brought it down so that we can bring it as low as we can so that we can fully get it funded. So we brought it down to, hope you guys can see that, $8,900 was our goal when we made the Kickstarter. And in the end, we got like $10,000 and $2. I don't know who gave the $2, but yeah, so we started off that. And the greatest thing with Christians and our community is that we kicked off, so Kickstarter, let me quickly explain what Kickstarter is. Kickstarter is a funding program where it lasts for a month. So you do a campaign, you share it so people fund your program. But in the end, if we don't get the $8,900, if we don't make the mark, you lose it. It's all or nothing, right? So if you make the mark, you get the money. But if you don't make the mark, people's payment will go back to them, right? So that's the goal. So it was really kind of a risk. That's why we brought the price from 15,000 way down to 8,900, because maybe 50,000 was a bit ambitious, right? But the Christian community is so crazy. Within the first week, 75% was funded within 7 days, which is crazy. All I did was just share our Kickstarter link with a bit of video on my Facebook, and that's all I did, right? Daniel, he's not really a social media guy, so he probably did like an in-person, like text person and like talking to people, talking really to people. So yeah, we got 6,500 in the first week, and then we're like, okay, we got 75%, this is gonna happen, all right? So we went, and then once we were funded, obviously we got $10,000 and $10,002. Yeah, we got that, and then we were ready to film. We hired cameras from like New South Wales getting shipped here, and since we got the fundings, we used some cinema cameras, and we're just going with the best that we got, right? And then we filmed, what's today, 19? Yeah, we filmed like a month ago, so October 10, 11th was when we started filming, so 5 night films. Everything happens in a night, the whole short film happens in a night, so everything is night shoots, and I just got reminded that why I didn't want to go in the industry, because it's all night shoots. It's kind of like an Adventist, it kind of relates to Adventist because it's night shoots, so we start at sunset. How Adventist, right? So we started at sunset, and most of the schedules would finish at around 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. But a couple of nights, by the time I got home from the set, it was already, sun was already up, and it's crazy. So yeah, I love it, but I don't love it at the same time. But anyways, so yeah, I only took 1 photo, which is crazy because we were so busy. We literally only had 4 crew members. So it was the director, me on the cameras, and I had an assistant, Zephyr. He's also Baptist from Caleb's church. So he helped me, and then we got a sound guy. And it's just us 4, and then the actors. So it was such a tight crew, and Zephyr was kind of doing BTS at the same time, taking photos. So we didn't get much time to get BTS. And right now it's in the editing process. So the director and Caleb, Daniel and Caleb are editing right now. If you follow us, I don't have a slide for like social media or anything, but if you just go to Facebook, just type in The Midnight Sower, or if you go to Instagram, The Midnight Sower. We don't have heaps of followers, but if you want to follow the journey, follow us there. It's just The Midnight Sower. I think we just, Daniel just posted a BTS of our first day shoot on our pages. So if you want to follow that, you can follow us. So yeah, that's the process, and it's on post-production right now, editing, and that's my journey with the film, right? So that's kind of half of what I'm gonna explain, share tonight is my journey. And this is our first film from uni. This is our very first film, Daniel and I. This is our first film from, we did heaps of film in film school, but this is our like real first film outside of uni. So that's my journey with the film, right? I'm gonna quickly jump over next. Okay, filmmaking and discipleship. Why I'm putting this is, how does filmmaking relate to discipleship, right? Cool, let me just ask you a question. What's your favorite Christian film? Just shout it out. Sorry? Prince of Egypt, that's an animation, right? Yeah. No, it's fine, it's still a film. Okay. The Chosen, that's a TV series. Any movies? Fireproof, yep. Courageous. God's Not Dead, okay, I'm glad you pointed that out. Cool, so there's heaps, right? There's heaps of Christian films. And I'm gonna show you a slide. So, all right, so these are the top grossing Christian films up to date, right? It's like almost $500 million, more than $500 million for The Passion of Christ, which is basically like a Hollywood film, so you can't really call it like a niche Christian film. But Heaven's for Real. Has anyone seen Heaven's for Real? Yeah? All right, Heaven's for Real is 100 million. They got 100 million out of that film, right? The Shack. Heaps of people probably watched The Shack. I Can Only Imagine. Who likes Mercy Me? Yeah, all right, awesome film. Miracles of Heaven. I think we actually watched this as a youth movie night one time. So War Room, which is the same guys that made Fireproof, I think. Son of God, God's Not Dead, The Star. And Breakthrough has Luke Cage in it, if you guys are Marvel fans. Luke Cage is in that film. And there's Phil Wickham and Lecrae in that film too. Just a little bit of fact, all right? So yeah, we love Christian films, right? As Christians, we love Christian films, but tonight, I'm gonna turn the thing around and say that Christian films are bad. Yeah? You guys can agree? Yeah? All right, cool. All right, at least I'm not the only person. All right, so Christian films can be really preachy, yeah, can we preach it kind of judgmental and the acting is not the best, the director, cinematography is not the best, right? We can agree, but they make heaps of money though still, right? Because Christians love Christian stuff. That's how we got funded, right? All right. So one of the like the Melvilles mentioned, the Fireproof and War Room is made by Kendrick Brothers. I don't know if you guys might know the middle guy. He's in heaps of Christian movies, like Courageous. He's in Courageous. He's probably in Fireproof, Facing the Giants. So yeah, he's in heaps of films. And in one of his interviews, he said that we're not filmmakers. We're preachers using film as a sermon. That's what he said. And I'm like, cool. That makes a lot of sense now, you know? Because if it was filmmakers first, then maybe the movies would be better. But anyways, I want to just show it's good that some of you mentioned God's Not Dead. When I watched God's Not Dead, I was in high school. I think I was in grade 11 or 12. And I really loved that movie. It's like, you know what? Get Josh, get that lecturer, get that guy, you know, like, yes, win the debate. I just want to share you, hopefully this video works. I think it's video next. I'll show you, yeah. Is the audio ready? All right. This is from God's Not Dead.
I have some news.
Me too.
Okay, but me first. I've just been named partner.
I think I have cancer. Did you hear me? Did you hear what I just said? I have cancer.
This couldn't wait until tomorrow.
What?
Do you think you're smarter than me, Wheaton? Do you think there's any argument you can make that I won't have an answer for?
I never said I was smarter.
That's the first intelligent thing you've said. Now I want to make this clear. In that classroom, there is a God, and yet I'm him. I'm also a jealous God, so do not try to humiliate me in front of my students. You know, I also checked up on your declared major, pre-law. What exactly is pre-law? We don't award degrees in that. Don't bother answering. But know this. If you truly feel a need to continue with this charade, I will make it my personal mission to destroy any hope of a law degree in your future. Have a nice day.
Oh, no. He wants to prove that God isn't dead.
Look, I know I am in the minority here, but I actually believe in God.
Yes. Well, she's a work in progress. So, darling, I think it's best we just change the subject.
But I'm just saying that...
Mina, I've asked politely.
Mina, this wine is awful.
It's been cooked.
It tastes like it was sunning in a moldy basement.
Talk about your grapes of wrath.
I bought it before I went shopping the other day. I locked it in the trunk. And when I got home, I forgot about it.
Well, I think this dinner serves as a valuable lesson. As Socrates put it over 2,000 years ago, noti seata.
Looks like it's Greek to her.
Oh, it's a know thyself, darling, know thyself, which I suggest means knowing your own limitations.
Now, if you'll all excuse me, it's time for the help to depart.
Sweetheart.
All right. I'm hurt, right? As Christians, and like, because we're Christians, we relate to the Christian characters, and like, it's offensive to us. But if we look at it objectively, that's an example from God's Not Dead. And if you look at it objectively from like a neutral perspective, every atheist in these movies are portrayed as the most evil people in the world, right? The first guy was an atheist. He heard about cancer and was like, couldn't this wait? Like, you know, such a It's like the wahaha, like the villain kind of thing, right? So so that's what a lot of Christian movies. I'm not saying every Christian movie does that, but a lot of them have that and like a cheesy kind of storyline. And don't get me wrong, I love God's Not Dead. Like when I first watched it, I was like, oh, it's the best, right? And then at the end of the movie, they ask you to text your friends, and then I text everyone in my contacts, right? And then 2 years later, I got a text saying God's Not Dead. And one of my friends watched it, and she texted me, which is awesome, right? It's kind of a ministry thing. But I don't know why I went there. But what I'm saying is that Christian movies sometimes can be like that. And I'm not saying every Christian movie is that. And the most recent, like I Can Only Imagine, and like the newer Christian movie that's kind of biopic have gotten a lot better with portraying realistic, even if it's there are some atheist people that are mean like that and bad like that, but not everyone's like that. So we have to be honest in the way that because when we make Christian movies like this, we're discipling, right? And a lot of these Christian makers probably think that we're discipling to the Christians, because as Christians, we should stand up for our faith and everything like that. But if an atheist person watched that movie, they'll be like, Christianity is whack. Why would I want to ever be part of Christianity or like look into it? Or like, they would never want to be part of the Christian faith, right? So in a sense, it is putting off a lot of a major audience that, to be honest, they probably won't watch it in the first place, but if they did watch it, they wouldn't like it. And that's, I'm not saying I'm not saying they shouldn't make Christian movies. They should make Christian movies for Christians. Yes, these are for Christians, right? But I feel like we should reach out and make movies about faith that are not aimed at Christians, aimed at atheists. All right, so I'm going to show a few examples that I think are great movies that are not necessarily Christian movies, but talk about faith. You guys know this, Chariots of Fire? It was released in 1981. It won the Best Picture Oscar, and Best Screenplay, Best Original. You guys probably know the soundtrack? Slowly Running? Okay. You guys don't know that? Oh, you guys are probably too young. But yeah, so this film won, and if you guys don't know the stories, I'll just quickly explain. There are two athletes in this competing for the Olympics for the country of Britain. And one of them is a Jew, right? And one of them is a Christian. And they use the word Sabbath in there, which is really interesting. But for them, Sabbath means Sunday. And it's interesting the Jewish person didn't tell the Christian guy that actually the Sabbath is Saturday. But anyways, yeah, so those two compete in the thing. And he's basically an Adventist, but who worships on a Sunday. Because in the Olympics, who worships like Adventists, right? We think the day is holy, we shouldn't do. And one of the scenes is like, after church, one of the kids throws the ball in front of him, and he grabs the ball, and it's like, you shouldn't be doing this on Sabbath. Like, you should honor God, right? So that's the Christian guy, and there's the Jew guy, right? Jewish guy. And then they go to the heats. They go to the Olympics, and the heats, the first heat both of them are competing for the 100-meter race, and both the heats is on Sunday. So the Christian guy's like, you know what, I'm not going to compete. I don't want to do anything on the Sabbath. I'm going to honor God, right? And then that news, because he's a famous athlete, so that news spread around the world, and everyone's like, this guy's not competing on a Sunday because of his belief in God. And then the board is trying to convince him, just do it. Like, by winning, you'll honor God and everything like that. And then he's like, no, he wouldn't budge, right? And then they found a trick where, you know what, don't race on the 100-meter, race on the 400-meter, which is not on the Sunday. So he's like, okay, cool, I'll race there. So he raced on the 400, and he won the gold medal, the first place, and the Jewish guy won the 100-meter. So both of them won the gold place, and yeah, so they won that. So in the end, spoilers, but they won that, right? And then, so that's the movie, right? It's kind of like a journey of someone's faith. It's not necessarily a Christian movie. It's not preaching to you that you should be doing this, you should become a Christian, you should be doing this. This is wrong, don't live that lifestyle, do this, right? But it's purely just displaying someone's faith. And if a person's inspired by that faith, they would want to look into it, right? And I believe a lot of people are inspired by his story. And whether or not they looked into Christianity and their faith, or if they believe in a higher power or anything like that, we don't know that. But films like this inspire everyone, regardless if you're a Christian or an atheist, right? All right, cool. I'm just going to quickly, I feel like I'm running out of time. We all know Hacksaw Ridge, Adventist Pride. Yeah? All right, so these two films I just want to quickly highlight. Hacksaw Ridge is also about someone's faith, and we all know the story, so I won't go into it. And then you probably never heard of Silence, or if you did, So the main guy from Hacksaw Ridge, Andrew Garfield, you probably know him as Spider-Man as well. He's the main actor for these two films, right? And the second film, I'll just quickly explain the plot is, so Liam Neeson, the main guy, he's a priest that goes to Japan for ministry in the earlier age where Christianity was not in Japan at all. So he goes in there, and then apparently he renounces his faith, and he says, I don't believe in God anymore. So the other two priests, Andrew Garfield and Adam Driver, they go in to investigate and get him back to come back to the church, right? So that's their story. And both of them are faith-based stories. And we can all agree that Hacksaw Ridge is a great film, right? Yeah? It's a bit violent in the violent sense, but as a film, we can all agree that it's a great story. And stories like this inspire people, right? They're not saying, oh, you should become an Adventist. If some guy watches Hacksaw Ridge, he doesn't feel like, oh, you should be Adventist. If you're not Adventist, if you're not vegetarian, you're bad, right? They're not saying that, but it's just showing someone's faith. And even in place of violence, he's choosing peace and believing in God and his Bible and his faith, right? And that's also kind of the same with Silence. So yeah, like I mentioned, Andrew Garfield, he's played Spider-Man. You probably know him as the co-creator of Facebook as well, if you watch The Social Network, the film. So I want to quickly finish up with Andrew Garfield's journey, which is really interesting. I read a bit about his interviews and watched a bit videos on YouTube. And he's one of the talk show hosts asking him, what did you do to prepare? Because these two roles, he played them back to back. So like a few weeks apart, right? It came out in 2016. So he played that. So he said to prepare for this role, he prayed for a whole year. That's what he said. He prayed for a whole year. He did meditation. He did this 12-step course. So basically, he became a Bible student for a year, right? Because he was learning about Jesus. And as actors, they would get into, if they're reading about Jesus, they would get into Jesus' place and imagine everything and act out. And so he was like, this is the best. And one of his quotes is, what was really easy was falling in love with Jesus. That was the most surprising thing, he said. And he never prayed before, he said. He had never prayed before in his life before this role came up. So he said it was really easy to fall in love with Jesus. That was the surprising part. And one of the quote, there were so many things in the exercise that changed me and transformed me, that showed me who I was and where I believe God wants me to be. So even as an actor, just like looking into the role, his life kind of changed. And I'm not saying that, oh, he's a Christian now, he goes to church every weekend, right? I'm not saying that. I don't know. He probably does, probably doesn't. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that films, I'm not saying Christian films are bad. They're good for Christians. They're good for us. Like, if you want to reaffirm our faith, let's go watch God's Not Dead 4, which is coming out, I think, or it probably came out. Yeah, it's good for Christians, but it's not for atheists, right? So I feel like as a filmmaker, the way that I disciple is aiming for these audiences and mostly atheists and non-believers and putting a bit of faith in there where they can think for themselves, not giving them a platter where this is what you should believe, right? Show them who Jesus is, and they'll fall in love with Jesus. And so the Midnight Sower is kind of that. You can kind of see the bottom is like they're at church, and what's happening in the purple thing, I don't know. That's a story that we and Daniel we have the same mind in terms of Christian films and films in general. We don't want we shouldn't just be like, oh, that's what you should do, and just be preachy about it. Just show Jesus, and they'll follow you, right? So that's the film, and that's what I think as a filmmaker, to make disciples, because make disciples of all nations, not just make disciples of already Christians, right? Make disciples of all nations. So that's what I'm sharing tonight. Hope it was good. If you feel like I said something wrong, forgive me, and hope I didn't offend anyone. That's me. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Regent. Hey, that was incredible. Such a good talk. It's so true, though. Christian movies can be really cringy, but I, for one, I'm obsessed with them. Love Hallmark movies, love Christmas movies. That was... But anyway, that was a really good talk, so thank you, Regent. The next person I'd like to invite up on stage is Alicia. If you want to make your way up. Alicia is a wife and a stay-at-home mum that has created 2 online platforms, two online businesses so far, when she realized she didn't want to go back to her 9-to-5 job to sacrifice raising her son. She has used her counselling and psychology degree and her experience in working with people to change unhelpful behaviours, thoughts and beliefs, and to now coaching mums, entrepreneurs and creatives to find their unique voice and confidence so they can create income and meaningful work. If you're on social media, you will find yourself encouraged and motivated by her chats, or she will show you the realities of motherhood and how wild toddlers can be. So her Instagram is a must follow. She says if you ever want to butter her up to get some coaching for yourself, just get her a chai latte on soy milk, extra hot with extra honey, and that's your payment made. Please give a warm welcome to Alicia.
Thank you. Awesome. Let's see if the presentation's up. That is not me. That's all right. I'll start anyways. Awesome. So I want to start with my story first. You heard a little bit about me, but I wanted to share a little bit about what was going on when I first became a mum. So I birthed my son in 2019, and my whole life changed. If anyone has been gifted that role of a mother, you would understand that. And I couldn't think of just going back to my normal 9-to-5 job to put him into daycare so that then I could earn a couple of $100 a week, you know, to miss out on, his big milestones. That like crushed me, and I was like, I couldn't do that. I loved the job that I was in, but my priorities were turned upside down essentially. And I had the desire to raise my own child, to keep him all by myself. I think we all understand what that's like when we have something so precious, right? Hide it away. Nah, but in all seriousness, I was happy to let go of my job that I really liked just so that I could be with him. But a strange thing happened. 2 months in, I kind of felt bored. I felt antsy for more than just changing his diaper. Or watching TV shows while he napped. Even though I didn't want to go back to work, I also didn't want to be just a house mum. And I didn't know what that looked like, but I wanted more. Not in a selfish way, but more passion, more purpose, more, desire within and beyond my newfound role as a mother. And so now some of you might relate to my story, some of you might have a completely different story, but I think we might be highlighting a couple of similar things that we're facing. Hear me out. So, you might be feeling uninspired in the daily grind, living Groundhog Day over and over again, or feeling like you don't belong or desire to work in a white or blue-collared industry for 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life to then retire on 40% of your income. You might feel like you've picked the short end of the straw there. Or you might even have lost your job during COVID or reduced hours and you're looking for more to cover your expenses. So you see, all these examples show our desire and purpose and passion beyond routine and ordinary, right? And the thing I've come to realize is that you can be thankful for what you have and desire more at the same time. Who agrees with that? Cool. So many of you guys are here because you have a creative passion or have skills and knowledge in the arts field or looking for more in life than just to do the work that's placed in front of you, right? You believe in the value to create, to be, and express, right? That's why you're here, right? Unless you're my husband, he's just here because I told him to come. But don't we all want to thrive at life, right? In whatever season we're in, with gratitude and peace in our hearts, and be able to enjoy life rather than just live day to day, hoping for one day something will be better. So that's what I did. I decided to create my dream So not having to compromise my value of looking after my son at home, and I decided to pursue work from home while I stayed at home with my son. I didn't know how it will all plan out, but I made that commitment to figure it out along the way, because the other option, guys, was for me to go back to work and then to regret my decisions or even feel resentful for that, or to spend 8 hours a day working on someone else's dream while I complained about the fact that I've given up my own. And then since then, it's been 2 years of learning, growing, making mistakes, pivoting, recreating, and just trusting God in my next steps. But I can stand here today and say I've created 2 online businesses. One is completely residual, meaning it keeps coming in, the money keeps coming in even if I'm not doing the work. And the other one, I have actually just launched my online coaching business, and within a month, I have booked myself out for the next 2 months. I've created more opportunities into next year, and that's what's allowed me to stand here and talk to you guys about all of this as well, and share about my heart's conviction about building online businesses. So now, after all that, do you think I stand here today without any doubt, nervousness, anxiety? Absolutely not. If you can see my hands, it's like all sweating. Okay, I want to be real with you guys. It doesn't mean that I am not full of doubt and anxious and all that stuff either. But I chose to overcome my fears and keep going even when I face them now today, because I have confidence in silencing it. Now I'll teach you the key ingredient to do that with your heart's desires too. But before we do that, a few online business statistics to get you thinking, right? I don't know how to work this, but here we go. Now, internet is still growing and diversifying. This means that internet is no longer a place where you just use it as a search engine. It's a place to buy, it's a place to experience, it's a place to connect with people. I mean, look at where Facebook has come from and where it's going, right? And it's estimated that within 20 years, so by 2040, 95% of purchases is expected to be through e-commerce. Even now, show of hands if this is you, you search online for reviews or recommendations before making a purchase. Absolutely, for me. I actually go on Instagram to see if they actually have an Instagram account to see if they're legit. The truth is, we live in a world where companies hire people not based on their resumes or cover letters anymore, but now on information they can find online. And this is why it's so important to be wise about what we post online, right? But also making your online presence something that you can use where people can come to connect with you and therefore buy your products or your services. So then, how do you stand out in the middle of all these online businesses, all trying to sell something, right? The answer is personal branding. Well, I think that's the next slide. But the bottom line is that we trust people more than we trust brands. And we engage with people more than we do with brands, right? We as humans were created to be in relationship with each other, right? 92% of people trust recommendations from individuals, even if they don't know that person, over brands and their messaging. They even found out that when brand messages are shared by employees of the brand, that they get 561% more searches when company employees share their brand message rather than when the brand shares it by themselves. It's pretty cool, hey? So I think this shows us that we still want a personalized experience when we are looking to purchase something online, and especially in this current economic climate that we're in, we want to support businesses that are relatable, right? And that's why we have that hashtag shop small or hashtag, shop local, small business, all of that thing. So then again, how do we then create a personal brand online? This is where we need to know who you are. Just like Harvey Specter from Suits, good TV show by the way, said, anyone can do my job, but no one can be me. I know he's probably not a Christian, but good quote. So your unique story is going to be the biggest asset, guys, to creating an online business that is relatable, clear in its mission and products, and service to your people. In the midst of all the people selling macrames, why would people buy from you? Out of thousands of people making music, why would they listen to your music? Why are you worth investing in? And this is the key message I have for you today. If you don't believe in your value, your message, your worth, your products or your story or your service, then good luck trying to convince someone else to invest in that. If you're going to keep listening to the voice of fear and doubt that tell you that you're not good enough at this, or you don't know enough about that, or you need to do more or be like the successful person to thrive at life, you're not going to get far either. Not because you're not valuable, but because you're listening to the voice that tells you that you're not good enough. And to be frank with you guys, that's not God's voice. Going back to you wanting to live a life where your heart is aligned to what you do, so essentially you're not lying to yourself every single day, you first need to align your heart to God's calling on your life. He's given you the talents and the gifts and the circumstances and the stories that you uniquely have. No one else has it, right? He's given you all of that. And your mission as a Christian is to know Jesus and make Jesus known, right? Can we agree on that? Yeah? And just like Regent said, we can touch people through our personal brand. It doesn't have to be a Bible in our hand and walking into church and, inviting them. Of course, they're all important things. But how we live our lifestyle is a testimony outside of these four walls. How you talk to your people, how you use and see money, how you serve people, what kind of products you sell, all of that is a testimony to who you are and how God's created you to be. So when you know who you are, it's a huge weight lifted off your shoulders, and you can see so much more clearly the next steps you need to take. You have intuition and desires for a reason, and often we put those down because it's not good enough, or that's only for the lucky people that have made it into the world, right? We put ourselves down so much. And again, like I said, that's not God's voice. And so now it's your choice to listen and be still in Him to find out who you are, and then take that paintbrush and color your world. Thank you.
Oh, I should probably just keep this microphone on instead of turning it on and off. Thank you so much, Alicia. That was fantastic. We're running a little bit behind schedule, so we're just going to quickly move on to the next people. I'd like to invite up Casey Gillespie and her beautiful mother, Patty, onto the stage now. I had the privilege of seeing Casey at her formal last night. She was so beautiful, and she is young, and she has so much talent. So you guys have so much in store tonight as she performs. Casey Gillespie has been writing songs for a few years now, and as I said, she's just graduated from grade 12 this year, and has recently got accepted into uni at the Griffith Conservatorium for next year, studying Bachelor of Music, specialising in jazz voice. Also, she hopes to be an artist or a music consultant one day. So if you want to look over to Casey. Oh, actually, sorry, and I should also introduce Patty. If you guys are here last year, Patty did this beautiful painting for us, live painting, and we luckily got her back this year to do one as well. So, eyes to both of them. They're going to bless you tonight.
Thanks, Jess. My name is Casey, if you don't know me already. I wrote a song a couple of months ago. basically, a few months ago, my family and I were at the dinner table discussing the character of Judas. And I guess we all know how the story of Judas goes. You know, he's the one who betrayed Jesus, right? Yeah. And I guess I got an idea came of actually understanding Judas's emotions and feelings towards his betrayal. And I guess this is what the song is about. It's Judas in first person, or when I'm singing, pretend that I'm Judas, I guess. That I'm, you know, kind of like singing what he must be feeling. Also, in the chorus, I say, "Notorious I am, wicked, cruel, and deep down helpless." And if you don't know what notorious means, it is, thank you, Google. It is notorious, most commonly means famous or well known for a negative reason. So we all know that Judas is very well known in the Bible, of course, and what is he well known for? For betraying Jesus, and it is negative, because he betrayed Jesus, that's bad. So yeah, I thought I'd just say that, give a little context behind the song. But yeah. Listen well, I did alright, did everything asked of me. I looked, I cried, I did it alright, so why do I feel unwell inside? I listened to his stories, I hated those with glory. John taught it and I dwelled on it, so I know these games all too well. Notorious I am, weak, cruel, and deep down helpless. I can't fight what I was meant to do. The reason he is dead is a 30 in my hand, now wasted. Tell me how to fix this. Oh, oh, I felt alone, I felt unloved. I killed the man who didn't judge. I unbelieved and closed my heart, filled with guilt, not a hope inside. I listened to his stories, I hated those with glory. John taught it and I dwelled on it, so I know these games all too well. Sorry. Notorious I am, wicked, cruel, and deep down helpless. I can't fight what I was meant to do. The reason he is dead is the 30 in my hand, now wasted. Tell me how to fix this. Oh, oh, hung out with the right crowd. I hung out with the right crowd, listened to the wrong crowd. I paid the price of giving up my own life. I hung out with the right crowd, listened to the wrong crowd. I paid the price of giving up my own life. I felt alone, I felt unloved. I killed the man who didn't judge. I unbelieved and closed my heart, filled with guilt, not a hope inside. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks so much, Casey. Such a unique perspective. I don't think I've ever heard a song that is talking, that's singing from the perspective of Judas. So was really, really good. Hey, just another housekeeping thing I forgot to say at the beginning. If you are new here and you need to go to the bathroom, feel free to go. It's just out the door, and then you turn right, and then you turn right again, and then you turn right, and it's just over there. So feel free to go. Should have said that at the beginning. Sorry. So the next person I want to invite up is Rochelle Melville, if you want to make your way up here. I met Rochelle a few years ago, actually. She was doing the art therapy role at North Pine Christian College, which is a school that I used to go to. And when you first told me what you did, I was just gobsmacked with how incredible that role is. And schools need that as well, like being able to, sorry, I'll hold it down here. Being able to help kids through art, you know, trying to understand what's happening. So we're so blessed to have her. She is an intentional creative art therapist. Her husband and her have a bespoke timber fountain pen business. I actually have one, and they are beautiful. She's a storyteller, a feminist, a God seeker, a hat wearer, and I love this description. She is a woman with a pathological aversion to conformity. Conformity? Yeah, conformity. Please welcome Rochelle.
Thank you. So because I have a pathological aversion to conformity, I'm not wearing my hat tonight. So my brother was the smart one. My sister was the little one, and I got the label of the creative. They all kind of rolled their eyes, and I think they all hoped I wouldn't do anything with it as a career, but it turns out I certainly have. So I remember writing skits for my friends at school to perform when I had the lead role every time. I stitched stuff, I drew stuff, I painted stuff. I even had a stint of knitting. I knitted a pink scarf. It started off this big and it got down to there. There was holes all through it. It went in the bin, but it was fun for a while. My mother made sure there was endless candle wax, paint, plaster of Paris. I remember, because I'm that old, we used to shrink chip packets in the oven, and they would go from this big to this big, and you could make them into key rings. And anyone else remember this? It's fantastic. I remember carving scary faces into turnips with my best friend for Halloween, and we had to do it in my bedroom in the dark, and we stole the birthday candles out of the birthday box so we could have jack-o'-lanterns. I've always been creative. And one of my favourite memories, because you know when you're a kid you just have a favourite item of clothing. Well, mine was a t-shirt that I painted. It had a koala bear on it, and I wore it for 12 months, and it was just a wonky-eyed koala bear looking really awful, but I loved it. And it was made with puff paint. Are you with me? Puff paint! You iron it and it puffs up. It was fabulous. Anyway, so I've always been creative, but then I stopped creating. I just stopped. I didn't do anything. Except I wrote very dark poetry about all those boys who took my fragile teenage heart and folded it into tiny paper boats and threw them in the dark and stormy seas where they were abandoned and they sprung holes. I still have all that poetry. It's so embarrassing. Hugh MacLeod says, everyone is born creative. Everyone is given a box of crayons in kindergarten. And when you hit puberty, they take the crayons away and replace them with dry, uninspiring books on algebra and history. Being suddenly hit years later with the creative bug is just a wee voice telling you, I'd like my crayons back, please. And so I found myself, new mum, 3 little kiddies. I wanted to create again. I discovered scrapbooking, and I sewed my kids' rugs and cute little clothes, and I made beaded jewellery that was awful. It wouldn't sell at the markets. I began teaching craft classes, though, and I actually made some really good money. And I started making art in a very small journal, and I fell in love with art journaling. And I found out it was called art journaling because I found this great philosopher called Google who told me that what it was. And I found YouTube, and I was hooked. And I actually began a YouTube channel about art journaling. And I got a lot of hits. It's still there, but I won't tell you what it's called. And then I began teaching this art journaling, and people kept saying, I feel so good when I'm creating. My art journal is my best friend. It's by my bed. I take it out. I'm like, it's just art. And they were telling me that they felt empowered, and they would have tears, and they processed their life through these artworks. That was so interesting. Again, the philosopher Google told me, go study art therapy. And God. And so I did. So I've been art journaling for 9 years. And during that time, it's been like this pregnancy. 9 long years of God birthing something in me. He showed me so clearly that there's this amazing intersection between art and creativity and spirituality. And I've heard that clearly tonight as well. So the art journaling that I practice and facilitate is an intentional practice. It's a spiritual practice that allows one to explore their faith and doubts and provides scaffolding for the hope. It's a safe and nurturing place. It's worship and having difficult conversations with oneself and with God. And sometimes he even replies. Because you know what? Art journaling as worship invites us to explore the narratives within ourselves. And because we were birthed in the imagination of God, it's only fitting we can respond by using our imagination and creativity to connect back to the source. So let's place some parameters around the art journaling. There's a table outside. I've put a whole bunch of art journals that go way back, right? My original art journals are out there. There's some clips in them. Feel free to flip through to the clips. I've just kind of made some that might be easiest for you to see. But please go and I want you to see what I'm talking about after this if you have a chance and you'd like to. So, it's a spiritual practice. If it's not about the artwork and making an art, because that's art, but this is a spiritual practice, so it's different. So what is art journaling as worship? It's a process, not a production. It's not about the end product. It's my process that I applied. So, it's often private. It's often you and God and an art journal. It might be a verse, a word, a question, a doubt, a pondering. Often for me, it's a song. I love to journal to music. It's using whatever you have on hand, a pencil, a crayon, glue stick. I love to cut up old magazines. I do a lot of collage. If you have to steal your child's texters while they're asleep, do it. It's whatever art supplies you have. So what is it? Scribbling, doodling, making shapes, wonky stick figures. But we all feel a bit wonky now and again, don't we? It's cutting out pictures, it's dropping ink, it's painting with your fingers, it's writing away your heartache, it's putting your tears into your watercolours. It's externalising the chaos within. It can be thoughtful, joyful, playful, gratitude-filled, and a lot of the pages I show out there are exactly that. They're my rejoicing ones. But sometimes it's also chaotic, smudged outpouring on pencil lead, leaving tired, messy fingerprints on a page. And these are the journals that are stuffed into drawers and shelves beside my bed. And they're mine, just mine and God's. So whatever way your art is expressed, God is always present. He's always looking over our shoulder, reassuring us that he hears and sees everything, every layer, the deepest levels. And all the time he's whispering, you are loved. So, I have come to believe with all my heart and soul that the creative life is inherently an act of great courage. And that quote is from Erwin McManus, my artistic creative mentor. Look up his book. Creativity should be the place where we place our truest selves, where we can really be who we are, but often it's not. We hesitate. We compare our art to others. We make up stories about our lack of creativity. Who's ever said that? I'm not creative. We've all said it. So let's own it. But that voice isn't God's voice. He created you to create. So it's taken me many, many years to wear the title and the role, artist and artisan, proudly and deeply. You see, if you create in any capacity, if you have decorated a cupcake, if you have artistically pruned the roses, if you have thrown together a room that everyone just says, this is a really beautiful place, I like what you've done. You know, if you've painted a sign If you've taken a photo, you are an artist. So let's talk about art journaling again, because that's my specialty. Because I want to talk about it. Because it's not about the artistic representation. There's no right or wrong way to art journal. It is an expressive dialogue between you and God. And you know what? I don't like all my art journal pages. They're embarrassing. They're shameful. They really provoke emotion of difficult times. But that's just an indication I've got some work to do and that God hasn't finished with me yet. I'm not going to use that as an excuse not to do anything. You see, maybe you need to do that work too, because the world is missing out on your creativity, your own special branding that nobody else can do but you. So again, Erwin McManus challenges me. He says, who is an artist? Anyone with a soul. So I want to tell you a little story. What is a soul? The raw ingredients of a soul are beautifully written out in the book of Genesis, as many of you may know, where the molecules of mud and the breath of Elohim had the first being become a living soul. So earth body plus breath, soul. We are a living soul. And here's the story. The sun had only ever graced the skies twice. Its warmth now shone on the back of Love, who formed a long, wispy shadow in front of him. He seemed to be studying his shadow thoughtfully. The corners of his mouth turned up in a smile and his eyes twinkled like he was up to something. And Love's shadow fell half across the form of a man lying still on the red earth in the deepest of slumbers. And for the second time that day, Love used his shadow as a template. Love traced his finger, the shadow outline, as it fell half across the sleeping man. He reached into the still form and drew out a rib. But the man was still whole and complete. He did not stir, and the wound completely closed over itself, because Love placed the rib a little to the left of the middle of the shadow that he'd already outlined next to the other form. And suddenly, immediately, the shadow began to materialize into a form similar, but distinctly different to that of the sleeping man. And now Love knelt for a long time, molecules and atoms moving into new places, following his directives in his head. He smoothed the form with his gentle hands and burst on spontaneously into a song. This new form was distinctly feminine. He placed within her great strength and courage, a lively spirit and a darn keen mind. As a result of the touch, or as a final touch, Love pushed his finger playfully into the figure's middle, making a little belly button. And he couldn't help but give a little chuckle. He was pleased with his work, and he sat back and admired his poema, his masterpiece, his two masterpieces. And this one he called good, very good. He'd also declared the man good earlier that day. And Love leaned over and took a slow, deep breath in. He leaned forward and exhaled every bit of air from his lungs, and it was long and warm, and as he exhaled, the earthen form inhaled. And it began to change temperature and texture, and it began to grow tiny pores and grew warm. There was eyebrows, eyelashes, hair on the back of the head and on her legs. The breath of life contained the purest love that you could ever imagine. It was planted deep within this, a fierce, unrelenting love, same as what he gave the man. But her eyes began to dance now within her, and her chest moved up and down. Her eyes flickered open finally, and the very first thing she saw was love. And Love extended his hand to her, not because she couldn't get up under her own strength, but out of the highest respect for her. But they all did not live happily ever after, for the hero's journey took on a twist. You see, Lucifer, dressed in fine snakeskin boots, and entered stage left and kissed perfection with a poisonous kiss that shook the entire universe. And the darkness brought its minions of self-doubt, inner critic, selfishness, anxiety, narcissism, greed, and my favourite, conformity. These are the enemies. What if these obstacles and sufferings and the out of the comfort zone experiences we find ourselves in are actually a call to adventure? It is, after all, the heroine's journey, the hero's journey. There's lots of women here, so we never preach to the women. What if it's a summons to action, a spiritual quest-seeking warriors who were born for more? What if we are created to create? What if that's it? What if that's the highest purpose we might have in order to bring him glory? And what if our creativity is the greatest thing that will reach the greatest number of people for the kingdom? What if it's the mightiest weapon and the holiest of holy grails? It's made me stop and really think about it. So what if the greatest gift we can give ourselves is surrender? To give in to creativity? To say, I no longer live, nothing in me is mine. Do what you will. Supersize me, God. And what if this daily reconstruction of our identity through Christ allows us to really fulfill our identity as the reason that he came to say, I have come to give you life? What if creativity is such a vital part of it and we're missing it because of those other things that Lucifer brought in? And you know which ones you wrestle with. You know your Goliaths. You know your monsters. Because we all have them. So what if we allowed Christ access fully to our creativity? And how might he let his glory show through us? Do you feel it too? A call, a nagging, a sensation, a feeling there's more to the spiritual life than meetings in a building once a week? Stand, sit, pray, listen, stand, sit, listen, stand, sit. I can't get that word out very well. You know what I mean? There's more to it. That's not worship. It's one way to worship. What is the way you're wired for worship? Mine is art journaling. What if our greatest calling, our mission, our destiny, and our truest desires are to be both works of art and an artist at work? Did you like that? It's not my line, so I can really boast about that. I'm going to read it again. Erwin McManus. What if our greatest calling, our mission and destiny, our truest desires are to be both works of art and artist at work? You've got to look for the glory and hunt for the grace and seize beauty and ugly and laugh brave and defiant in the dark, and you can lose anything, but nothing can steal Jesus. And he is enough, and you have got to live. Anne Voskamp. I think God wanted you to hear something tonight. And I'm done now. I'm just going to read one little closing thing from Erwin McManus again. Because he says it so well, I just can't rewrite it. At first, our soul is like a canvas where others begin to paint the portrait of who we are. And slowly we begin to develop and mature, and we take a brush into our own hands and we continue painting our very lives. And then we go beyond that, leaving our mark on the world around us. We don't have to convince children they're creative. All we have to do is let them do what comes naturally. We never have to give permission to a We never have to give permission to a 4-year-old to simply draw on the page what they see in their imagination. They don't follow the rules. Yet somehow along the way, this gets restructured. We become convinced that only those who are drawing inside the lines are doing it right, and that the rules are more important than anything else, and that we cannot allow our unfiltered imagination to be reflected in reality and in worship, I suggest. So creativity is replaced with conformity. Originality is placed with standardization. We can't let it happen. What if creativity is the great rebellion? How about that? What could we do if we all started being creative right now to our fullest extent? And the good news is, there's no perfect artists. There's no perfect art. We're all a work in progress and will be until we're dead. Then we're in heaven, so it's different. God is not finished with you yet. And if we find ourselves with a desire that nothing in the world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is we were made for another world. So thank you, C.S. Lewis. And from me, fix your eyes above. Let the master craftsman continue to do the work that he wants to do inside of you. He wants to give you inspiration and the courage to create, because you were created to create. Done.
Hi, I'm Christina Safka, and I'm a signature styling strategist. People ask me all the time, what is personal brand and how do I get my personal style? Well, let me tell you, it all started a long time ago with my love of fashion. I learnt about style simply by reading magazines, watching people that had gone before me, movie stars. The silver screen was like my favourite thing to watch. And I realised that these starlets had poise, a poise that I wanted to emulate, a kind of grace when they walked and when they spoke, how they did their hair, their makeup, everything about them seemed so well put together, and I fell in love with style. So fashion was a big part of my life because I used it to, find out who I am in my teens and also fit in. But as I started to get to know myself a little bit better, style became even more important. It meant that I wanted to be an individual. I wanted to be different from other people. I wanted to have something unique. I wanted to style my hair differently. I wanted to complement my skin, my makeup. Everything about me had to suit me. And so over the decades, I have learned how to put myself together in an amazing package where people question my age, how do I do it, and how do I pull it off? So this is what I teach. So people often ask me, why do I need a signature style? My answer is always really simple. You need to stand out from the crowd. People need to know and see the real you. Yes, sure, you can use fashion and fumble along, but having strategy and actually having someone that knows how to put you together, understands your brand, your business, that is invaluable. I go in and I basically have a look at everything that you do. I look at your lifestyle, your business, your branding, your message, and everything must match. So the way you present yourself and who you are and how you sound, even down to your voice, everything about you has to be branded, not just your clothes. And this is what signature styling is all about. I also have a look at your diet, your fitness, your regimes, your lifestyle, everything about you. There is nothing that goes missed. So personal style and image branding is all about strategy.
I feel like the video did my job for me. The next person I'd like to invite up is Christina. She is a signature brand stylist, just like the video said, a camera confidence coach, a speaker, an author, a TV host, and a fashion designer. A true multidisciplinary artist. A style icon herself, Christina draws on her vast life experience to motivate and empower her clients and audiences by sharing more than 3 decades of advice and wisdom working within the creative industries. Through tailored education, mentoring, and support, Christina paves the way to elevate your style, empower your presence, and ultimately amplify your impact to present well in life and in business. Please give a warm welcome to Christina.
Can you feel the energy in the house tonight? Oh, I love this energy. I have been in a creative energy, gosh, for the last 50 years. I was born into it. It just makes me so excited. Recently, I had been a fashion trainer at the Academy of Design, a very prestigious fashion house. And every day I would go to teach and work alongside some of Australia's most creative students. And when I'd come home, I would be buzzing for hours. Creative energy is so powerful. Can you imagine what it would have felt like to have been there at the beginning of time when God himself was in that full creative force creating everything? It would have just been magic. Put your hands up if you know what this is. That's right. Did anyone say zipper? It is a zipper. Have a guess where this can be found on men's clothing. Right at the front, because, you know, men are simple creatures and they're very practical. I should know, I'm raising 3 boys. Have a guess where this can be found on women's clothing. Let's just say it's a bit complicated. The more intense the design, we could just about put this anywhere. And I should know. Tonight, I want to talk about mental health because over the last 10 years, I have been serving the Australian public and I started to notice a pattern. So I'm going to focus on the impact that your mental health has on your confidence and your style. You see, the art of self-image is actually the art and the practice of being fully self-expressed. Most of us don't know that, haven't even arrived there yet. As you know, I am Christina Safka. These days, I go by the title of Signature Style Strategist. But I fused together over 35 years of knowledge of being a fashion designer, a stylist, a fashion trainer, hairstylist, makeup artist, model, TV host, you name it, I've just about done it all in the creative industry. Some would call me a veteran of the creative arts. I fuse all of that together for my clients today, these days, and I teach them how to elevate their style. I also teach them how to empower their presence because let's face it, your outfit will only get you so far. As you step into the room, what precedes you is your presence. You can always tell when someone's confident and when they're not. And if you can figure out your unique signature style that is perfect for you, and you work on your presence, you can only ever amplify your impact. Who wants to make impact? Yeah. But it all started a very long time ago. I remember being a young 17-year-old and seeing this billboard sign. Yes, that's how old I am, a billboard sign. And it said, study fashion. I thought, yes, that's what I'm going to do. And I chose fashion for all the wrong reasons. More on that later. One of the highlights from my early days in my career, we're talking early 90s now, I got snapped up by the Australian Fashion Group in Sydney. And the cool thing was we made ranges, seasonal fashion ranges for all the retail stores in Australia. I'm talking the big chain stores that you see in Westfields. It was so much fun. I'd rush down every week down to the news agency because, you know, it was before the digital age. And I would buy the latest gossip magazines, New Idea, Woman's Weekly, you name it. I would buy it, I would scour those pages and I would see which one of my designs was going to be in there because I knew one of those retailers would put together a photo shoot and the models would have the designs and it was exhilarating. And sometimes I would see people in the street and I'd go, oh, there's one of my designs, there's one of my designs, and it was so much fun. But as I started to mature and grow up, I no longer just wanted to dress the Australian public. I wanted to make greater impact. Yeah? Much deeper impact. And there had to be a way to reach them. Well, 2 years ago, just before my 50th birthday, I had been listening to my clients, colleagues, friends, over a very long time, saying, how does she pull that off? Why does she look like that? How come she's never fat? How come this? How come that? And I thought, well, if I'm going to make impact and reach people, I can't be sitting on a pedestal. I have to start becoming more transparent. I have to literally become real. So I decided, especially through coaching and mentoring, when you want to relate to your clients, you use your story. And so what I did, I pulled back the curtains and I revealed what it took to become me. In this collaborative body of work with 15 other authors, we created Inspiring Women Today, and I share the back end of what it's taken, the tragedies, the heartaches, the good and the bad, and the seriously ugly. So tonight, I want to talk about mental health because it is so important today. If your mental health isn't strong, you will not be able to stand, walk, perform, and do things in life confidently. And by style, I mean your personal style, who you say you are, because clothes are just a cover-up. Have you ever had this experience? You get this invitation, right? Maybe it's a job interview. Maybe it's a wedding or a party or something important, and you know you need to show up. So you go to your wardrobe, you open it up. Now, a couple of things can happen. Wardrobe overwhelm. Oh my goodness, what am I going to wear? Or it could be, I've got a trusted go-to outfit. It's worked before. It'll be fine. You look in the mirror, you check yourself out. Good, I'm cool, I'm done, everything's fine. You go off to the event. The door's open, you step in. And all of a sudden, I'm overdressed. Or maybe you say, I'm underdressed, and you start to feel a bit uncomfortable. What happened? What changed? How did you go from this, pumped, I'm good, to suddenly this? Could it be? Research tells us that as humanity, we as a humanity, we suffer from feelings of not being good enough. You know how it goes. Someone makes a comment, a criticism, makes you feel bad. You don't feel so good. I can remember being caught in two worlds. One of my parents would say, who do you think you are, Miss High Almighty Princess? You're never going to make it in this world. And the other parent would say, you're amazing. You're a rock star. You can do anything. And I was like, who do I believe? I don't know who to believe. And science tells us we usually tend to believe the negative. So as I stood here and I thought, well, if they say it, maybe I'm not good enough. Why? What's wrong with me? There are two factors. There's the internal and the external. Now, we know what the external feels like. They say something about you. What do you have to wear that for? Do you have to do your hair like that? You know that's just not going to fit in. And on it goes. I hear it from my clients all the time. Self-sabotaging things that you say to yourself, or others say. And then those things that people say, they get to turn into the internal. No longer do you hear their voices, but you hear your own voice starting to sound like them. Now, the thing about self-talk, this is really interesting, is that self-talk is powerful because it runs on facts. This is how it sounds. They said you were no good, so you're no good. But well, you know, they said you're wearing the wrong dress and it's the wrong thing and whatever they say. And you start to believe that self-talk. and it just gets louder over time. Well, I have found a way to shut down that self-talk. Because if the self-talk is focusing on facts, you can't deny they said it, they feel that way, they criticise me, they talk behind my back. Here is what I have found. When you change the dialogue and you say this, what if I created something else? What if I believed that I could be that, or I could do this, and all of a sudden, what, you've got nothing to say? You see? There's no facts, because the what if means it hasn't happened yet. I am just creating the possibility. No longer am I listening to what they said or my self-talk. I am back in the driver's seat. It's a pretty powerful place to be. Now, I have found that people often ask, who am I? What am I here for? What's my purpose? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And I have found that when you look at humanity and you look at this level, I find it's easy to get lost. People always tell you who they think you are. But I have found that as I raise my eyes and change the question, whose am I can really start to see that there is a possibility that I could be more than what they say. Because when I realize whose I am the child of the Most High, and there is nothing greater than that. Nothing can penetrate that connection. The secret, you see, is that there is no competition being you. I can remember as a young teenager, and I'd get my first pay packet. What do you think I would go and buy? A fashion magazine, of course. And I'd pore over that magazine, and I would see the models, the poses, the hair, the makeup, you name it. And I just wanted to be like them, because if I was like them, maybe I'd be accepted, and maybe I'd fit in. What I didn't realize is that the more I desired to be them, I was becoming less of me. I didn't ask the right question, whose am I? I was just focused on who am I, and trying to create my identity in the who am I. Do you seek approval? We all do. But when you ask yourself that question, whose am I? You no longer need to be a victim of seeking approval. Because when you connect to the divine and you know that you are a child of the Most High, that is the only approval that you need. So tonight, I want to challenge you. It's time to rise. It's time to become more than you've ever been. It's time to identify with your highest power. It's time to start asking the bigger, more important questions. Who you become in the process of change will determine how you dress and show up. You see, when you start to get to know who you are and whose you are, you're going to start dressing differently. No longer will you be bound by fashion and the restrictions of trends. You're going to create your own style. Do I care what people think of what I'm wearing? I love green. Mightn't be your colour, but that's okay. I love sparkles. Heck, I've made it to the 5th decade. I can afford to wear the best things every day. So really, own your style. The journey starts tonight, because as an educator, I believe that you can't unlearn what you learn. Once you get taught something, it goes into your subconscious. Whether you use it or not, it's stored. And the journey starts tonight. You know when you drive a car into a driveway and there's a sensor light, right? It's just enough to illuminate the driveway. And then when you get out of the car, You've got the front door can be illuminated. And when you get inside the front door, you can flick on a switch and then that gets illuminated. You don't need to know the full journey. Just start one step at a time. So there are 3 ways to get started. I always like to teach something. It's just me. And the first step is identify those limiting beliefs. You know what they are. They're the ones been holding you back. They're the ones been stopping you from going for whatever you wanted to go for. The ones when you said, I just haven't reached that level yet, or I'm just not that good enough just yet. I'm just going to wait. There is no waiting. There has never been a better time than tonight. And start asking the right questions. Because when you ask the right questions, you start going places. I remember just recently, my twin boys were having this dialogue. And I was walking past and I thought, something doesn't sound right here. And I could hear one twin saying to the other, but why do you feel this way? I'm not that person anymore. I've changed. No, the other one said, you're still that person to me. I don't trust you. And I said, and he was getting so upset, but I'm trying really hard. I don't want to be that. And I said, hey, son, you're asking the wrong question. Because guess what? Your brother's opinion, it's none of your business. I gave him a little bit of attitude, and he went, yeah, try that on. Start asking different questions. And all of a sudden, he moved away from the situation, head held high, and he walked. He was no longer seeking approval, chasing to be needed and liked and to fit in. He had a sense of power that was starting to drive him in a different direction. I call it direction of success. Number 2, when you're on this journey, imagine this. When you do it alone, it's easy to get sidetracked. Imagine. Because one day you mightn't feel like it, and it's like, no one's watching, I'll just slide a day, maybe 2, maybe 3. Before you know it, months have gone past, maybe even years. So I say, get yourself a cheerleader. Everyone's got one. It's that friend that you know has your back. It's the friend that you know that you can ring up anytime. It's that friend that you know will always be there for you. When you have accountability, you can start sharing. This is my plan. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. And that as you speak it, you start giving it birth. And as you share it, you can start to understand how accountability will start to kick in. And the third one is, like any good journey, you need a plan. And I have found that the best place to start is self-love. Why would I start there? Because when my cup is full, I can let it overflow. Imagine someone coming up to you and going, hey, can you help me out? And said, what? I'm barely surviving myself. How can I be of value and service? So fill your own cup and get a load of this. If anybody ever says, you're so full of yourself, you know what? Start taking it as a compliment. I want to be full of myself. When I'm full of myself, I can give to others. Know where your worth comes from. Know where that worth comes from. And when you know where that worth comes from, you'll be so empowered. So empowered. And with empowerment comes success. Personal success. When you change your state of being, you can change your story of becoming the most powerful version of you. Let me say that again. When you change your state of being, who you have chosen to be up to today, you can change that negative story and then become the most powerful version of you. Start believing this. You are enough. I really want you to get that. There's no competition. You are enough. You know why? Because He's enough. Thank you.
you. Thank you so much, Christina and Rochelle. Guys, we've been so blessed tonight. We do have 2 more segments, but just quickly before we go on to our next one, I want everyone to stand up quickly. We've been sitting down for a while. Just shake it out a little bit. Just stand up, walk around a little bit, just so that we can, yeah, well done. Shake it out. Awesome. So the next person I'd like to invite up on stage as you take your seats is Haynes, a good friend of mine. I had the privilege of watching Haynes marry his best friend last year. It was a beautiful ceremony, and you guys are going to be so blessed tonight. So as you take your seats, Haynes is going to come out. He is a Brisbane-based artist. He is a singer and a songwriter and a producer who is passionate about sharing Jesus and the kingdom of heaven through music. He released his debut album back in 2019 entitled The Fall to Grace and has released 2 singles since, which can be found on all online music platforms. His music is a blend of various genres, from pop to alternative, and his scripture-inspired lyrics reflect a pilgrim's peculiar journey in this life as they wade through the hedonistic waters of this world. Give Haynes a warm welcome.
Hello. My name is Haynes, as my friend has said. Jess. Sorry, I'm nervous. And yeah, you might know me as Haynes, but my kind of stage name is Hainesa. I'm so excited to be here. What I love about Creative Conference is that, yeah, it's focused on creativity, and, you know, we serve a creator God. We believe in a creator, and so when we create, we reflect his image in that very special way. Anyway, the song I'll be singing tonight is called Someday, and it's basically about what I think a lot of us followers of Christ don't talk about or even think about as much as we should, and that is heaven. That one day we will be in paradise with Jesus forever. Someday soon I'm gonna lay in grass that's greener on the other side. Someday soon I'm gonna walk on streets that are made of gold. Someday, when love calls me home, when love sits on his throne, someday soon I'm gonna see his face. Jesus, I'm gonna see your face. Someday soon I'm gonna live in heaven, where there's no crying or pain, no people dying, no shame. When love calls me home, when love sits on his throne, someday, someday, someday. Someday we'll be going home. Forget the world, it ain't worth your soul. Why die when you can live forever? Someday we'll be going home. Forget the world, it ain't worth your soul. Why die when you can live forever? Someday we'll be going home. Forget the world, it ain't worth your soul. Why die when you can live forever? Someday, someday, yeah, someday, someday, someday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my good friend. Hey, we are about to wrap it up, but just one last segment. I want to invite all of the speakers and artists who have spoken tonight just up on stage. We're going to do a quick interview panel, question and answer. And really, we want to throw it to you guys. If any of you have any questions, there's going to be a mic roaming around. I'm not sure who has it. But if you've got any questions, just throw your hand up for any of them. So Regin and Casey, if you guys all want to come up on stage and just take a seat. And Haynes. So yeah, there'll be a roaming mic. If you do have a question, just chuck your hands up. In the meantime, I have a few questions. Yeah, just throw your hands up if you have any. Awesome. How many chairs? 2, 3. Perfect. We've got enough. Awesome. Let's give them all a round of applause. They've done such an incredible job tonight. I don't know about you guys, but I've been so inspired. You guys are incredible. So the first question that I have, and again, if you have any questions, just chuck your hands up and we can feel free to interrupt me. The question that I have, and we'll probably just have this one from me, unless there's other ones, is what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given? I've been watching this podcast about this chick who does it, and she asks everyone that she interviews what's the best piece of advice, and it's incredible all the different types of answers people have based off their journeys and based off their experiences. So, who wants to start? Fun. I'll give the microphone to you guys if you want to still think it. It is a bit of a, sorry, they don't actually know this, like I haven't asked them this question previously, so we'll give it a bit of time.
Okay, I will start. The best piece of advice I can give you is stop believing what others say you are and start believing who God says you are.
This is a really tough one to answer. I'm just going to go with my gut, and my gut says the answer is always Jesus. It is not me. It's not my crap. It's not anything else. Every answer, all that I'm seeking, is Him.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, I think the best advice I've received, I don't know who I heard it from, but it's to never cherish the gift more than the giver.
I think for me, just start whatever you're thinking. Just start it tomorrow or Monday if you feel like a weekday. Yeah, just start. It might be small, but if you don't start, you'll never start. So, yeah.
Piece of advice. Is it advice?
Yeah, advice or anything.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I know that when you do something that you're good at, you tend to be such a perfectionist. But I say that don't be so hard on yourself. Trust the people around you. If they say that you did well, trust on their word. Don't just keep doubting yourself, because that's just going to ruin you. Trust in God. Trust that He's got you covered.
Trust that He's always there. Trust that He's going to forgive you. Just trust, really.
The hard truth to swallow, I think, but something that is so important is that you have a choice. You're not a victim, yeah? You have a choice to make the most of the circumstances you have, and so, yeah, you just have to own that responsibility.
That's so good. Yeah, so good. Any questions of the audience? No? I have one last one. I got one more, guys. And then we'll be done. So, who is your role model? And apart from like Jesus and God, who would you accredit where you are? Like, who would you say is your biggest inspiration for where you are right now? And why?
I would say my mother is a really big inspiration. She's my biggest critic. So if I do something wrong, she'll tell me. And then that's how I know. And if she says that I did really good, then I know that I can trust her. Because if it wasn't good, she'd literally tell me. So yeah, my biggest inspiration is my mother.
Without being, again, cheesy, my husband is my biggest supporter. And the fact that he's so different to me, it's so inspiring. Like, the fact that he can walk into an interview and be like, this is what I'm worth, you can take it or I'm leaving. Like, for me, when I was first starting out, I was like, holy moly, how can you ask for that much? And like, yeah, how can you tell people what to give them instead of being like, oh, pretty please? So yeah, I've been kind of inspired by that, yeah.
I'm guilty of quoting him profusely during my talk, but if I could get a patch podcast, I would just be on a podcast 24/7. I have this real thirst for information and knowledge, and one of the people I rely on is Erwin McManus. He has written profusely, he preaches, he teaches, he creates, he has his own fashion line. He resonates deeply with me. He's a very, very different Christian. If you're interested in someone who has a different take on everything, he's the man. He's a wonderful, beautiful pastor, and I hope to get to his church one day in LA. So Erwin McManus, highly recommend.
Gosh, I'm going to pick someone really old-fashioned because I'm just starting to really get who this woman is. I'm going to have to say Ellen G. White, because the works that she has produced at such a young age, I mean, that's a seriously creative woman. Have you read the words in Desire of Ages or Steps to Christ or any of those? It's the most creative, flourishing language, and there's nothing quite like it. So she is my inspiration.
Yeah, I'd have to say mine is John Marcoma from Bridgetown Church. I'm not sure if any of you guys know him, but yeah, he's author, speaker, teacher. He's been really impactful over especially these last 2 years, just to my walk with God, and just how he, contextualizes it and makes it real and able to actually interact with, if that makes sense, God and Christianity.
On that, I am listening to a podcast at the moment by John Marcoma and one of his friends. It's called End Hustle, Fight, Hurry. And it's one of the most incredible podcasts ever. If you are like me and you are the most un-SDA ever, and you don't rest on Sabbath and you don't rest at all throughout the week because you're just constantly go, hanging with friends, working, doing things, all that stuff, I would totally encourage you to listen to his podcast, because he just talks about Sabbath. And they're actually not SDA. They're like Baptists or something, but they talk about Sabbath in the most beautiful way, and they describe it in such an incredible way that it's actually for us, and that Jesus, if you look at his character, he was actually quite restful, like his character, and he rested a lot, and he is a role model for us, to rest. And in this day and age, rest is like the most incredible and like hardest thing to do ever. So would recommend. Regent?
I've never thought about it, but I feel like it changes a lot with what I'm doing, and if I'm doing a particular thing, I would find the best person at that and then just look up to them. And so I don't have like one answer. It's just someone that's best in that area.
Still a beautiful answer. Awesome. Well, that wraps it up for us tonight, guys. I'd like to invite Pastor Joe up on stage to pray. Or am I praying? Oh, I'll pray, guys. Oh, what a privilege. I'll pray. Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you, Lord, for tonight, and that we got this incredible opportunity to come here and to learn about you and to learn about how you've created us to be creative beings, Lord. And I just thank you for all of these people up on stage who have shared their journey with us. It is such a vulnerable thing being up here. And I just pray that you bless them indeed, enlarge a territory in their sphere of influence, Lord. And I pray for everyone in the crowd that they will have gotten something out of it and that they are inspired to go back to their lives and just start creating things and usher your presence into everything that they do, creative or not. I just, really pray that everyone has been blessed here tonight by the words that have been spoken up on stage. We thank you, we love you so much, and we can't wait to meet you, and we'll see you, really. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Amen. Awesome, guys. Well, that wraps it up. We do have soup and buns outside for you guys dinner. It was meant to happen at the beginning, but what's happening now, woohoo, I'm hungry. You guys are all probably super hungry as well. A few announcements tomorrow morning. It starts at 9:30 in here. We have some incredible people for you, including Sandra Enterman. She's going to be doing a few sing-alongs. We've got some podcasts. Gigi's here to do talk about their podcast. We've got some more musos. We've got some really incredible mentors for you just to talk to you about how to live your best life ever. So we really encourage you to come back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see you. And if you guys have any questions, these guys are going to be here. So feel free to just ask them. They're all, I'm guessing, are great people and lovely, approachable people. So just come and talk to them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow. Happy Sabbath.